Hello, you guys as an audience, I'm coming to realize are far more intelligent than the average YouTube viewer, and the most intellectually giant character in Star Wars history has finally showed up in Star Wars Ahsoka. I reluctantly make this video, but given the importance of Grand Admiral Thrawn, I feel that I must be brutally honest in the hopes that things will maybe improve a bit. But this video contains some spoilers about Star Wars Ahsoka, which I'm very much enjoying overall, so I recommend you watch it to make your own or even counter opinion to what I'm about to say here. Star Wars Ahsoka so far has been for me an amazingly great Star Wars series, and the acting so far has been pretty great. Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka so far is able to portray Ahsoka's resolve, quiet passion, thoughtful judgment, guarded affection for her apprentice, and especially poise. Natasha Liu Bordizzo as Sabine Wren has been great, expressing her need to be accepted by her master yet preserve her independence, while also enduring enormous internal conflict when it comes to finding Ezra. Ray Stinson as Balin is great at portraying this thoughtful struggle within himself. He is a conflicted man, struggling with his past ties to the Jedi Order, which you can tell he has great affection for, and some kind of purpose that is mysterious and yet to be determined. Even Ahsoka's Jedi trainer droid Huyang seems so expressive, thoughtful, and wise that I would go so far as to call him a sentient droid. And now we finally have Grand Admiral Thrawn, so let's give credit where credit is due and talk about the good things first. Lars Mikkelson is an amazing choice as an actor to play this role. He is the actor behind Thrawn's voice when he first shows up in the animated Star Wars Rebels. The voice and tone of Thrawn for this is perfect, better than perfect, as it was even back in Star Wars Rebels. The lines themselves were pretty spot on as far as Thrawn's character goes. The atmosphere around Thrawn is pretty awesome. These stormtroopers and Imperials are clearly fanatical about Thrawn, and they seem to be supplementing their worn armor with some kind of gold-colored metal. In fact, Thrawn's Star Destroyer, the Chimera, is absolutely breathtaking and also seems to be patched up with this mysterious gold metal. So it's cool even in its dilapidated form. That ship is definitely a character on par with something like the Enterprise, and it's a great actor in and of itself. Thrawn's eyes and skin color also seem to be mostly spot on as far as the colors. Also, in spite of the upcoming bad points I'm about to express, I'm still pretty hyped about seeing Thrawn finally appear in live action. But we must now get on with the bad, or at least the disappointing. We have to backtrack just a bit before I get brutal, because this is going to be a little bit brutal, but please understand the criticisms I'm going to make probably can be corrected. In the animated series, this is what Thrawn looks like, and various art and other portrayals of Thrawn are more or less a version of this animated character. One flaw that I think can be corrected, but I noticed right away, is that this is a Thrawn that has sadly let his body go a bit while in exile. This is not an athletic Thrawn. In Star Wars Rebels, Thrawn is a martial artist and athletic. He is aware that a true warrior takes care of his body as it is a foundation for the mind. He trains against battle droids and is clearly a martial arts expert. Now, he was never some kind of brutish bodybuilder type, but he's slim and he moves with fluidity. Unfortunately, this Thrawn in Ahsoka is not that, not yet. I'm a fitness enthusiast and nut, and I believe that the actor has time, or should make the time, to get into shape and portray a minimal standard of athleticism. Even though Thrawn is a villain, he is somewhat of a role model for so many fans, and those fans are often all about finding a role model for health and vitality just as much as for the intellect. There are rumors that an actual Thrawn trilogy movie will be in production soon, so there is time before shooting for Lars to get a professional trainer and get cracking on that. The uniform itself is somewhat true to form, but I think this could be improved. It seems to be a bit too baggy and sloppy. I mean, in some military styles this is a fine portrayal, but I think this could have a little bit more of a crisp look. The other problem I have is rather cosmetic. Maybe it can't be helped, but maybe it can, and I can get past this or let it go. And that is almost every other portrayal of Thrawn has a widow's peak hairline. You'd think that perhaps if makeup is invested in Lars' forehead, as we see here, that the hairline could also be reshaped just to give Thrawn that slick, almost a vampire-like widow's peak hairline. This is practically one of the most distinguishing features about Thrawn in every other portrayal of him. And now let's get to the acting. Have a look at the animated version of Thrawn and how he moves. Notice the eyes and eyebrows especially. Now observe Lars Mikkelson's eyes and eyebrows. Notice the difference? Something is very off here. Lars Mikkelson's line delivery is fine, great even, but other than that, he might as well be wearing a mask. Even in the novels, Thrawn is described as being quite expressive. He narrows his eyes, he raises an eyebrow in intrigue, something like what Spock would do. He taps his mouth with his finger while considering certain things, but Lars is doing none of that. I'm not sure what's going on or what's wrong here, because I know Lars is more than capable of all of this, especially if you have a look at past performances. He generally does portray somewhat stoic or even mysterious roles, but in those roles, he is absolutely more expressive with his eyes and face than he was in Star Wars Ahsoka, as you can see. Is he deliberately trying to be more wooden and stiff because he's trying to portray Thrawn as sort of mysteriously alien? Is the unreadable face as a mask thing deliberate? If so, I think this is a mistake. Every great intellectual character, whether it's a villain or a hero, has some kind of indicator that they are in thought, that the wheels are turning in their head. For Spock, it was the eyebrow lift. For Picard, it was the eyebrows a bit, but also the subtle looks to the side. The animated Thrawn also did a combination of these things. We're not getting anything other than a blank expression from this live-action Thrawn, and I know Lars is capable of much, much more than this. So what is the problem? Is there too much green screen to make the character feel immersed? Does the fault lie with the director, perhaps? Or is it the flawed belief that Thrawn should be unreadable to the point where he has no expressions at all? So there you pretty much have it. I'm not one of those fans that hates Disney Star Wars on its face, and I do believe that this series in particular is absolutely great so far, but I'm disappointed in Thrawn as of now, and after conferring with some fellow friends, I believe I am not the only one here. I would love to hear y'all's opinion on this. Here's a couple of channel updates. I'm pouring myself into part 1 of the Star Trek Wrath of Khan battle breakdown. If you want to see this video ad-free and get access to a lot of my 3D assets and renders, be sure to support the channel on patreon.com/resurrected. Until my Patreon reaches a critical mass, and it's far away from that, I'm going to have to take on some sponsors. Sorry, but I got to make a living here, so I really appreciate current Patreon supporters though. Here they all are listed, and I appreciate any new ones that want to jump on board. I'm also looking at maybe moving lightsaber content to this channel. My other channel, Light Warriors, is having one hell of a time getting monetized, so maybe the lightsaber content can be something like a 1:4 ratio or 1:3 ratio. Feel free to let me know if you think that's a great idea in the comments. Until next time, space friends,